Meteorologist Brian Wolf here, going to break down the weather. This is Friday, January the 3rd. We're going to kind of do a glancing look here of the United States, and then we're going to focus in on soon to be developed Winter Storm Blair and its effects across the Great Plains as it marches east. So, why do we have this setup that we're going to have? Well, if you look at the Climate Prediction Center, you can see that really the eastern half of the United States is seeing well below average temperatures. The darker the blue, the more below average we're seeing these temperatures. Where the west is going to see a little bit of warming, okay? So this is where you're seeing these shots of polar air that are coming down from, Canada and, from up near the North Pole. And it's just one shot after another after another. Winter Storm Blair just represents kind of the first part of this wintry outbreak, so to speak. And then there'll be many little, numerous mini shots that come in behind it of reinforcing cold air. So let's go ahead and dive in. The National Weather Service, if we glance at this, it's always good to start with this. I enjoy this map that they put out so you can kind of see, but you can see the dark blue here from Kansas, across Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and starting to inch into Ohio and northern Kentucky. Those are winter storm watches, okay? That means the conditions are prime for the development of winter storm conditions. So let's hop into the models, right? If you've kind of been tuning in on this journey the last few days, we've been watching the GFS model, we've been watching the Euro model. And even though yesterday they kind of started to kind of agree, today they still agree for the most part. But I'm watching that southern line, right, across southern Ohio, across southern Indiana, northern Kentucky, southern Illinois, central Missouri. That's going to be the quote unquote battle zone of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. So, what are we looking at in terms of that? Because any of that precipitation that you're going to mix in is going to drastically reduce your snow totals. And so as we're starting to get, within 48 hours of this event, we need to start putting out precipitation totals, snow totals, ice totals. And so now we're back focused for me on that southern edge of the storm. Okay. So right now we're going to start with the 0Z run of the GFS. At the time I'm filming this, the morning run is not published yet. So, general overview of the United States, you can see fairly calm. We had a clipper system kind of come in through Iowa, across Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, and heading into West Virginia later today. That dropped, just a little bit of snow, but is what we're going to keep our eye on is over here to the west. We're going to see this wave of energy that's coming across into the United States. It will eventually cross through the Rockies, and that is what's going to lead to the development of a low pressure system across the Great Plains. So if we go ahead and we play this into motion, you're going to be able to see here it comes across the west coast. There it is in the Rocky Mountains, and then here we go. This is the formation of Winter Storm Blair, which is what's been most talked about. You can see that low is going to develop over the western panhandle of Oklahoma, and then it'll move points off to the east. So we've kind of been talking about watching the track of the low pressure system. The heaviest snow band's 100 miles north of the low pressure track. For areas such as southern Illinois, southern Indiana, southern Ohio, extreme northeastern Kentucky, you really are looking for that low to track between the Kentucky and Tennessee border as it heads off to the east. Well, let's watch this. The GFS has this low, and it has it, it, it does track pretty much right across central Kentucky, which is why you're going to see that mix break out in those regions of southern Indiana, southern Ohio, southern Illinois. But you're going to see that heavy snow band across central Indiana, across central Ohio. So we're talking Indianapolis, Dayton. Those places are going to see a lot of just all snow. But that's what the GFS has. So if we go and we actually look at the track of the Euro, this is where things kind of start to get interesting. So if we go ahead and put this into motion, You see the energy comes in off the west coast. You get a low that develops coming out of the Rockies. Here we go. It's across northern Oklahoma. And let's kind of watch how this breaks out. The Euro model now, and this is again the 0Z Euro model output, which is actually Wednesday evening's model run, is putting this low pressure system a little further to the south, noticeably to the south. You can see that it's Kentucky-Tennessee border right now, and then it's actually going to sink off to the southeast before all the precip moves off the east coast. So that is a very interesting development. Um, and so that's going to cause a difference between the Euro and between the GFS in terms of forecasted snow amounts. So the first thing we're going to do, just to ensure that we're still looking at a potential mixed situation and not just trusting the weather models. A lot of times, a lot of weather enthusiasts and meteorologists will just regurgitate what the weather model puts out. Here, I want to try to empower you and educate you into being able to kind of figure this stuff out yourself. I use Pivotal Weather. It's a fantastic website. So if we're going to go and we're going to actually look at the upper air height, wind, and temperature, the 850 millibar. So that's a level up into the atmosphere. And as what we're going to do is we're really going to be watching for these wind barbs. And if these wind barbs are coming perpendicular across temperature gradients, that's going to be indicative of cold air advection. That would be the movement of cold air from one place to another. Or warm air advection, which is the movement of warm air from one place to another. So we're actually going to go ahead and skip this forward. You can see there's our low right there across northern Oklahoma and southern Kansas. I just want to point out, actually, just so you can see this, these wind barbs here across northern Arkansas, so in southern Missouri, and then you're seeing kind of west central Kentucky. That's warm air advection. That means as this storm comes in, it's actually going to get a little warmer outside because this low pressure and the counterclockwise flow around that low pressure is going to be bringing in all that warm air. And so as it brings in that warm air, that's where you have to watch for these elevated warm layers that will melt the falling snow crystals. And then you've got a situation of sleet or freezing rain. So again, this is the Euro model version of this. The Euro moved the low a little further south, so let's see what this does. So we actually, one thing, I'm actually going to switch my view here, and I'm going to go into more local in the Ohio River Valley to look at this. So as we kind of skip forward here, I want to, you can see, here's this warm air advection, right? Southern Missouri, southern Illinois, central Kentucky. But as we step through time, you're still seeing warm air advection, but a noticeable difference that I see is you're still seeing it across southern Indiana, for instance. Okay, right? It's pretty significant warm air advection across central and north central Kentucky. But is what I want you to focus on is these areas in south central Illinois, south central Indiana, northeastern Kentucky. These areas right here, you're seeing a little bit of warm air advection, but you're not seeing as much, right? And that's a consequence of that low pressure being modeled out, again, a snapshot in time a little further to the south. So if you're not getting as much warm air advection, then perhaps you're not getting as much of an elevated warming layer. So if you have a very deep warming layer that's elevated off the surface of the earth, with a lot of warm air advection, you'll see freezing rain. If you don't have any, if you don't have as much and you just have a little bit or a very shallow elevated warming layer, that's where you're going to see a situation where those snow crystals that fall only partially melt, they refreeze, and then it's sleet. So the Euro models, what I'm taking away from this morning is areas such as South Central Illinois, Southern Indiana, Northeastern Kentucky. I'm seeing where we've kind of switched from yesterday evening where it was looking like a pretty classic freezing rain setup to more of kind of a sleet setup where you might have a sleet snow mix. Now, if we go over and let's check out our total snowfall. So we're in here, and again, we're focusing right now on the Ohio River Valley just because that's where this storm is really kicking off and it's moving through. We will focus on other parts of the United States as the weather starts to produce events in those areas. So 10 to 1, let's see as this storm starts and progresses to the east. You'll see it start on the left side of your screen. We'll let it run out. So I'm going to actually go back. This is going to be Monday evening, right? This is going to be Monday at 7 p.m. This is what we're going to see. So the Euro right now actually has heavier snow right when this low pressure forms across like northeastern Kansas and then north central Missouri. But then you're seeing that this model output this morning has significantly lowered the snow totals across central Illinois. So you now got to be more in the south central part of the state. Indianapolis's snow totals have been drastically lowered. Yesterday, the GFS model was spitting out 13, 14 inches of snow. Today, you can see that Indy is, 4.5, 5 inches of snow. It's really right on that line, the northern line of the heavy snow band. So, just with what we've tracked, the Euro has moved back further south. So, with the Euro moving further south, you're seeing this heavy snow swath now extending through not central Illinois anymore, but south central Illinois, south central Indiana. Louisville has now moved back into a little bit more of a snow accumulation. And then the storm is going to start to re-intensify. The low pressure will as it heads off towards extreme northeastern Kentucky and then in through West Virginia and northern Virginia and points off to the east. Let's switch back. Let's go to the GFS and see what the GFS is spitting out here. Total snowfall GFS. We're going to go ahead and let it load. We'll see that clipper system that come through this morning and is still progressing to the east. Here comes the snow breaking out across northern Missouri. Let's go ahead and go forward to let's do Monday at 7 p.m. Okay. So the GFS, again, these two models have kind of split. The Euros kind of shifted things south and kind of weakened it a little bit. The GFS, which is overexcitable, I would not trust anything that the GFS puts out, implicitly. So the GFS still sticking with a very heavy snow band across northern Missouri, central Illinois, central Indiana. There you go. Output 16 inches of snow for Indianapolis. Don't take this to the bank. These are not my forecasts right now. We're just discussing the models. And this model is still putting out this war zone between the snow, sleet, and freezing rain through, east central Kansas, central Missouri, south central Illinois. Southern Indiana becomes that battle zone of that mixed precipitation and points off to the east. So that's kind of what we have in terms of that. I did want to kind of look at real fast some upper air. So I want to actually pull up the GFS, the Cincinnati GF. Actually, let's pull up the Evansville, Indiana GFS. Evansville, Indiana, according to the GFS, seems to be in this battle zone, so to speak, of sleet and freezing rain. So let's go ahead and go forward and let's check this out. So if we go all the way to Sunday, midnight going into Sunday, and we're going to forward it, again, this diagonal dashed blue line is the freezing line. This solid red line indicates the temperature profile. The burnt orange at the bottom is the surface of the earth. And then you head up vertically as you go up this image. If you want all snow, you want that red line to be to the left of this freezing line, right? If everything stays below freezing, those snow crystals that start up in the clouds will finish at the ground as snow crystals. So let's go throughout Sunday. Sunday morning, you can start to see 4, 5, 6 a.m. Here's an elevated warm layer. It's very shallow. So any precip that's going to fall, any snow crystals that are going to fall are going to partially freeze, or they're going to partially melt, and then they're going to refreeze because the temperature at the surface is below freezing. This is a very classic sleet setup. So let's kind of go into the majority of the storm here. We've got like 3, 4 p.m. So 3, 4 p.m. is what I'm seeing in Evansville, and this is based off the GFS model. Remember, the GFS model still has things to the north. So this is a very classic freezing rain, and that's what the ZR indicates. That is, this program's name is BuffKit. That's BuffKit's way of saying, hey, we're seeing freezing rain here. you're going to see a very, very, very thick layer of warming of air above freezing. So what's going to happen is those snow crystals are going to fall, they're going to completely melt, and then they're going to refreeze here right above the ground into super cold water droplets that freeze the second they come into contact with any surface on the Earth that is below freezing. So, in summary, if we go back and look at the in summary here, we have a big snow event that's coming in, big snow, sleet, freezing rain. It will start across the Great Plains. It will move off to the east. Again, this morning, Friday, January 3rd, we're dealing with differences in the models. The GFS keeping things north and strong. The Euro is shifting things a little further to the south and is weakening it. Again, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and share these videos. You can find me at Big Bad Wolfcast. We will be going live tonight again on TikTok at 5 p.m. Eastern. Just to kind of digest the new models. We'll see if the Euro and the GFS are coming back in playing nice with each other. And otherwise, stay safe today. We're getting closer to start putting out some real forecasts.